Let's talk about the humble Chud. The humble Chud is everywhere. He is everywhere nowadays. You can't go 20 seconds on Instagram or TikTok without seeing his little Chud face. He's everywhere, but you don't want to be him. Let's be honest, you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be a little Chud. And what is it that the Chud suffers with? It's social skills. That's what makes you into a little Chud. Think of the Chuds you know in your life. What's wrong with them? They don't have good friendships. They can't talk to strangers. They can't crack jokes. They're just shit at it. They're shit at it. That's what makes you a Chud. And if you want to avoid that fate, you've got to learn the social skills. And it's easy. I'm going to show you how. But first, I want to tell you the importance of social skills. Obviously, you don't want to be a Chud. But let's think about like career-wise, right? If you want to have a good career, either you're going to be an entrepreneur and you're going to like decide your own business, or you're going to be an employee and you're going to work for someone else. That's kind of it, right? You're either self-employed or you're employed if you're going to be making money. If you're employed, you're going to need an interview process. You're going to work with other employees. You're going to have a manager. You're going to probably be talking directly to customers. You're going to need to be good at speaking to people, obviously. And when you're starting to level up, you might become a manager yourself. You're going to be managing a whole team of people. You're going to have to be good socially. You're going to have to know what's right to say when, what people respond to best socially. You're going to have to be good at it, like no brainer. The other thing that's important, relationships. You want a good friendship, good marriage, good family relationships. Social skills are invaluable. Obviously, that's the whole point, right? The whole point of having social skills is to have like good friendships, good relationships. Like, especially if you want like a good marriage or something. First, you're going to need the social skills to, approach someone, ask them out on a date, actually go through the relationship process. And then you're going to need the social skills to keep the relationship strong until death do you part. That's not an easy task. That's not an easy task. Think about how many people you've been friends with for like over a decade. It's not easy. It's not easy. Think about the amount of close friends you have. Like, it takes effort, it takes work, and it takes social skills. But there's an easy way to learn them. So the first thing is obviously just by default existing in the world, you'll have social interactions that acts like practice. You're going to be getting better. You'll be getting social feedback. You'll learn from the feedback. You'll get better. You at 25 is going to be more socially better, basically, just better than you at 20. Who's going to be better than you at 15? Who's better than you at 10? Who's better than you at 5? You at 0 couldn't even fucking speak. So just dog shit socially, honestly. But there's a faster way to do it other than just waiting for it to arrive. And this method is something I would call sort of like a role model method. So most humans, we don't actually learn best from sort of like reading a book or watching anything. We learn from copying other people. It's not the information, it's being able to watch someone else do something and copy that we learn best from. Like, think about when you're back in like maths class or something. If you see something just like written down an explanation, sometimes it can be kind of confusing, it doesn't make sense. But if you see the teacher go through it and he goes like, okay, we're finding this side length of the triangle, first step is this, second step is this, third step is this. You see the process, you copy the process, you learn it, you master it, on to the next thing. So there's two ways you can do this. Either you get lucky and you make friends with someone who's just socially just good at what they do, easy to make friends, cracking jokes, people love them. Polarizing, that's another thing you want to be. So find someone who's like that. People either love them or they hate them, like Marmite or Vegemite. You want someone like that to copy. The easier thing to do though is to find someone online like that, a content creator who you can just kind of piggyback off of, copy their style. Best people for this, undoubtedly, comedians. Being able to copy a comedian is gold. A couple of my favorites: Dave Chappelle, Norm Macdonald, Shane Gillis, Theo Von, Joe Rogan. Those five are like my Mount Rushmore, Those are the goats. They're the people that I learned how to speak to other people from. And I know that sounds a little bit silly. Like, obviously I knew how to speak to other people beforehand, but to really get good at it and get into things socially and be able to banter with people and know when to crack a joke, it's imperative that you find someone whose style you like. Not just the people I've mentioned, but the people that you watch and you find them funny and you go, yeah, I want to be like that guy. Because they're not just good comedically, they're good socially. This is why I love watching like a podcast or something like that. The Joe Rogan podcast is incredible for this. He has so many interesting, smart, talented, social people on all the time, and he's probably the best interviewer in the world, right? So being able to just sit down and focus on something like that. I don't mean you have it in your ear whilst you're on the train. I don't mean you're like watching it whilst eating food and not really paying attention. It's in the background, you're scrolling on your phone in the foreground. I mean, you sit down and you watch it, and you watch their facial expressions, and you watch how they interact with each other. It's just, you can pick up so much from that, just from the little social interactions you see between other people, and just seeing the masters of the craft apply the craft and trying to imitate them in your own life. Imitation is the best way to learn, no doubt about it, especially with this stuff, because it's not something that you can read a book about, right? Like, there are a couple books on social skills which I'd say, all right, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's a good book, but if you just read that book, it's not going to fix anything. I remember reading it when I must have been sort of like 16, 17, and yeah, it helped a little bit, but I was still kind of socially weird. Like, you can tell when someone's read a book on how to be good socially, because there's a couple things they'll do which just kind of like, they're just out of step, and you can tell they're trying too hard. One of them, which is like a fucking red flag, like a little dog whistle almost, is when they say your name too much. I remember being on the phone with an insurance guy trying to fix my car insurance, like for the next year or whatever, and he said my name must have been 20 times in a 5-minute conversation. It was just uncanny and weird. He was like, okay, Stuart, what we're going to do, Stuart, is, if that's okay with you, Stuart, I'm going to put you on a hold quickly, Stuart. Then after the hold, Stuart, I'm going to come back and I'm going to give you a new price, Stuart. Does that sound good, Stuart? Like, I know my name. It's okay. Like, that's a nice little skill, being able to remember someone's name, show that you remember their name. That's good. Don't need to spam it. You don't need to spam it. It's the same thing with, in that book, he talks about you should be asking people questions. You should become genuinely interested in their life. But when you actually have a conversation with one of your mates who you're close with, you're rarely asking each other questions. 90% of what you're saying is statements. It's sharing opinions with each other. And you see this in the sort of podcast episodes and everything. Someone will ask a question, and they'll go back and forth sharing opinions and ideas for sort of 95% of the conversation, and then they'll ask another question. It's not all just about like hammering someone with questions. That's what I learned from a book like that. I would just hammer someone with questions, and after a while they just become annoyed. So it's not enough to just read a book about it. You have to watch the masters of the craft. A couple other people who are just phenomenal at it. Actors, any actor or actress, obviously. Watch them be in a couple interviews, people like Brad Pitt. Matthew McConaughey is a great one because he goes on loads of podcasts. He's got a good book. Just try and like imitate their style. And then once you've done enough sort of like watching of these videos, you're going to have to, apply it in real life. You're going to have to go out there and give it a go. And the first thing you're probably going to do in any social situation, if you're chudified, is you're going to overthink, right? You're going to be having all these thoughts like, oh, do I think this thing? What am I going to say? Can't do that. You can't be thinking about what am I going to say in advance. It doesn't work like that. It has to be from the subconscious mind that you're saying what you're saying. You can maybe prepare a little bit, but it's not the same thing, right? It has to come from the subconscious. And that's what the preparation is for in any sort of sense, to get it into your subconscious mind. But don't overthink before you're doing something. If you're speaking to someone new, try as much as you can to quieten your like conscious mind. Just be still, no thoughts, calm, take a couple deep breaths, like relax into it and let it come from the subconscious mind. And you'll start to see, just through sort of like taking in these content of these people who are good at socializing, you're just going to naturally do what they do. You're going to start to speak with their intonation a little bit. You're going to start to crack similar jokes to them. You're going to get better. You're going to get so much better. So that's the first sort of thing. Watch this content, try it in the real world, and you're going to learn again from the experiences in the real world, and then reapply it and reapply it and reapply it. It's an iterative process. Every time you fail, you're going to go, why didn't that work? That's why that didn't work. now we're not going to do that again, we're going to do this again, or it was the wrong context to do this thing. So that's sort of like step one. Another important thing to remember is that when you fail socially, it is not the end of the world, right? If you make a mistake, you say something and people take it poorly, it's not the end of the world. You're going to have to learn from your mistakes, and you're going to make mistakes. You can't be afraid to make mistakes. You've got to wear your heart on your sleeve. You've got to risk stuff. But once you made the mistake, think about what went wrong, and then forget the mistake, because it's going to be the number one thing which comes back to sabotage you in the future if all you think about is your social mistakes. In fact, maybe that's step one. Every social mistake you've ever made in your life, think about them, because I know they haunt you at night, don't they? You go to bed and you think, oh, 10 years ago when I said that thing, I should have said that other thing. Stupid stuff like that, and you know it's stupid. Get it gone. Just accept it has happened. There's nothing I can do to change it. It's gone. Because every time you visualize failure in your mind, you instill failure into your actions. I'll say that again. Every time you visualize failure in your mind, you instill it into your actions. So if you don't want to fail in future, once you've failed, take the lesson, forget the failure. Just forget about it. Just push it off. Just say, it's happened, whatever. And you'll get better at this the more you do it. The more mistakes you make, the more you'll be like, it doesn't matter. The repercussions, they really, really aren't that bad. And then one thing, again, with the visualization stuff, if you're going into a social situation where you know it's going to be a little bit challenging, you're a little bit afraid to do it. Let's say it's a group of new people you've never met, you're going on a date, you're going like a new class or something, and you knew it's going to be all entirely different people, and you're a little bit afraid. Visualize success in your mind beforehand. Doesn't have to be for a long time, but when I say visualize, I don't mean think about it. I mean literally picture it in your mind. Like imagine, close your eyes, imagine you're in like a movie theater and there's a screen in front of you and you're seeing your life from third person and you are visualizing it going well. You're visualizing walking in that door, meeting the new faces, sitting down, having a good time, talking to them with ease. Just imagine that you were acting like one of these people that you've studied, right? That you've watched a lot of, that you've sort of been able to copy their style. Just imagine that you're one of those people and you're killing it. Because after you've done that enough times, once you've visualized the success, the fear goes away. The feeling is still there though, but it shifts from nervousness into excitement. And that's very powerful. When you're excited to do something, you perform even better. And when you make a little mistake, you're going to be able to, come back and swing back with momentum and get back into things properly. So that can be a really valuable tool. You don't want to overuse it. If you're you can't be doing it in mid-conversation as well. That's another thing. In a conversation, you've got to be focused. You've got to be paying attention to what the other person's saying. Your mind can't be elsewhere. If you're visualizing success while someone's fucking talking to you, you're failing, right? Because then you can't ask them any questions about what they've said. You can't state your opinion back. You can't talk to them because you're not listening to them. That's not a conversation. As cliche as it is, listening is a great social skill. You've got 2 ears, 1 mouth sort of thing, right? You can't be elsewhere. You've got to be locked in and focused. It's what do people say? They say 10,000 hours of deliberate practice will make you a master at anything. But it is key to that word, deliberate. If you're not deliberate, it doesn't count. That's why people can drive for 10,000 hours and still be absolutely dog shit, right? Because they learn to drive in about 20 hours, they pass their test, and since then, they haven't been learning, they've just been doing, right? You've probably walked 10,000 hours in your life, but you're not a master of walking because you don't think about it. You don't need to be a fucking master of walking, that's stupid. But sorry to any masters of walking out there. But you don't need to think about it, right? It becomes a subconscious, it does itself, right? And obviously that's where you want to get socially. But for the moment, focus, lock in. Don't let yourself just be sort of existing there. Become like an actor within the world. Really, dive in. Try your hardest to just do well. Focus. When you make a mistake, swing back. It takes deliberate practice. You can't be counting any social interactions where you're not paying attention, where you're sleep deprived, or just not thinking about it. It has to be deliberate practice. Last thing here that I want to touch on is some of you might be a little bit worried that by copying someone else, you're going to lose what makes you you. You lose that authenticity. And don't get me wrong, social authenticity is gold. It is golden. It is the currency in which we trade. Someone who's the same as everyone else is boring. Someone who is totally 100% agreeable is boring. Imagine a conversation with someone and every single opinion you say, they just say they agree with you. And then they'll like maybe state a reason why, like, oh yeah, I think, I don't know, fucking honeydew melons are better than watermelons. And they're like, yeah, I agree with you because like the sweetness. And then you go, I don't know, I actually think watermelons are maybe more sweet. And they're like, no, yeah, that's what I meant as well. But I just think I also agree with you. Like, that's little worm chud behavior. You can't be doing that. There's a certain level of disagreeability which you have to get to be able to actually converse with other people. You have to get that. There's an invaluable skill. And you're going to get that from copying these other people, right? From copying Shane Gillis, Theo Von, Dave Chappelle, whoever it is for you, right? Copy these people. They're going to be disagreeable. You're going to learn how to do that. Invaluable. But again, the authenticity issue is still there. You're not really yourself when you're copying these people. You're just like parroting them. You're not like a real person who's there in the world. But let me say this. Pablo Picasso, when he first learned how to make art, obviously we all know his art now, the cubism, the modernism, is beautiful. It truly is beautiful. But when he first learned how to paint, he just painted like everyone else. He painted like how the classic painters painted. He learned the skills from the ground up, from what was already there, right? To be able to break the rules, you must first learn the rules, master them, become proficient in them, and then you can add your own style into things, right? So that's the same with socializing, right? You want to copy what you know will work, see how it works, and then you can sort of allow your authentic self to come through. Obviously, Pablo Picasso with art, that probably took him 10,000 hours. It doesn't have to be that way with social skills. It really doesn't. Give yourself 6 months of copying these people, and then you'll learn the sort of social graces which work, which don't work, way better than you ever could have by just existing in these social spaces otherwise. And then you'll be able to become a little bit more authentic, put your own spin on things, have your own ideas. That's the way to do it. Start with this, then move on to trying it in practice, then move on to becoming authentic, in that order. See how much faster you can gain these skills, right? It goes from being maybe like, if it was like a point system, maybe it's out of 100. Maybe at age 15, you're at like 35 points. You're a little bit behind, you know. Maybe you got bullied at school or something, whatever, right? Maybe by the age you get to 20, you've gone up to 50 points naturally. Apply this method for 5 years and you could genuinely be at 99 points. You could genuinely be the one guy out of 100 who is just socially mogging, right? Just charisma, enthusiasm, being able to listen, like this sort of magnetic personality. Because that's another thing as well, the personality that you have isn't like a fixed thing. You see people with magnetic personalities, it's because they've been around other people with magnetic personalities and they've picked it up off of them. It's a learnable skill. That's what it is all about. It's just about learning the skill. If you can do that, see how much your life improves. Career, school, relationships. Give it a go. Let me know what you think. Peace.